Marshmallow world.
Amazing statistic. Americans consume more than 90 million pounds of marshmallows a year. Kim Douglas. Over half of them will do it in the summertime, either with s'mores or roasting it on a stick. And Dan Kohler's here says there's a science behind
There's a science behind everything.
There is.
But have you ever even thought about the word marshmallow? Because I think a lot of us, it's a strange word, isn't it?
Yeah, marshmallow.
And where does this thing come from? Well, actually, if you split the word in half, we can find the origin of this really spongy treat. So there's a flower called the mallow, and we've got a picture of this. And this mallow flower grows in marshy areas. It is, in fact, a marshmallow flower. Now, inside this stem and inside the root, there's this really thick sap. So in 300 BC in Egypt, they whipped this sap with honey and they made a treat for the royalty. And this actually is the beginning of what we would call a marshmallow. And it comes from this family of candy that includes actually Jell-O, nougat, taffy, and we've got our favorite marshmallow here. And I want to show you guys how to make these at home.
Yeah, walk us through it.
It's so easy. So we came in early today to do this. I got some tape about this. It's a lot of fun. The first thing you want to do is bloom some gelatin. And the reason I'm doing this is so that all of those gelatin granules equally absorb water. You don't want to get any clumps there. Then we're heating the sugar, and I'm bringing this up with some water, a little bit of corn syrup, and a pinch of salt, bringing this up to 240 degrees. And the reason we go to 240 degrees, that's called softball stage, where the water is cooked out enough that the sugar is super concentrated and we can get the perfect texture out of our marshmallows at the end. Up next, it's the easiest. You just start beating that gelatin with the hot sugar. And I swear, you're going to look at that and think, there's no way that will ever turn into marshmallow. See, you're all you're as amazed as I was. It takes about 15 minutes of beating, but actually what you're doing there is you're beating all of this air into a protein structure. The next thing you have to do, empty it into a pan. I've lined it with a little cooking spray and parchment paper. Smooth it out. Use a little water on your spatula, get a nice smooth top. That's it. That's it? That is marshmallow.
And that's marshmallow fluff there, though.
Yeah, so this is what we end with at the end. Now, I said a little bit there that it's a protein structure, right?
Yeah.
Now, the sap from that marshmallow, confectioners found out was really highly concentrated with protein. So as confectioners started figuring that out, they said, what else can I make marshmallows with? And first it went to egg whites, and then it went to gelatin. We've got a picture of a protein strand. So gelatin is a very strong protein. And then we've got a picture of a marshmallow under a microscope. And what happens here is those protein strands really bond together and they trap air. You saw over 15 minutes, right?
Looks like the craters on the moon.
It does. We had 15 minutes of beating because what you want is to actually trap air between protein molecules. Now, the last thing you want to do...
I have a question.
Go for it.
Why aren't we eating them?
Oh, please!
Good question.
Thank you.
What are the brown ones?
Oh, wait,
You've got coffee, birthday cake, and vanilla on those plates.
Okay, so while you're taking that out, explain to me how you get the flavors in these.
Yeah, so the different flavors, you want to use a couple of different methods. For the coffee, I actually bloom my gelatin in some instant freeze-dried coffee. For the birthday cake, I use almond extract instead of vanilla. And the plain vanilla marshmallows are really just a tablespoon of vanilla in there.
Will you explain to everybody what blooming is if they don't know at home?
Yes, blooming is the process by which you hydrolyze gelatin. So what happens there, we sprinkle that gelatin over water, and those granules absorb water, and we do that to get it very even. If you don't give it about 10 minutes, what you end up with are really chunky clumps of gelatin, and you don't want that at all. Now, you can see, I let this set for about 4 hours. I'm coating it in a mixture of cornstarch and powdered sugar.
And that's where it gets that sort of chalky feeling.
That's where it gets that silky, chalky feeling. And guys, this is a marshmallow. That's all it is.
That's it? Last question, what came first? The chick or the marshmallow?
Mark, we don't have time for that today.